Good afternoon, and welcome to today's IVMF Technical Assistance Program monthly webinar hosted on the VetNet Entrepreneurship track. My name is Michael Shenik, and I'm the Program Manager for VetNet and Boots to Business here at the Institute for Veterans and Military Families located on the campus of Syracuse University. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes on how to ask questions and participate during today's Hangout. If you are participating live, please feel free to speak up and ask your question directly to our presenter, Neil Turallo. You can also enact the chat function by hovering over the left side of your screen and clicking the chat icon. You can type your question into the comment box that will appear on the right. If you're watching live out on our YouTube screen, please feel free to type your question and we'll relay it to Neil. And finally, you're able to type your question out in the Google Plus event page and we will make sure it is relayed. So today's webinar will be on the art of the executive summary, and we are fortunate to have Professor Neil Turallo with us today, who will take you through all the ins and outs of creating an effective executive summary. Neil Turallo is a senior lecturer at the Cornell School of Hotel Administration and has previously served as the academic director of the Pillsbury Institute for Hospitality Entrepreneurship. He also serves as the director of the Cornell University Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities. Before coming to Cornell, Turallo was an assistant professor on the entrepreneurial practice in the Martin J. Whitman School of Management at Syracuse University, where he was recognized for outstanding teaching numerous times, and he played a key role in the academic development of the Entrepreneurship and Emerging Enterprises program at Syracuse University. He has since worked with colleges and universities globally developing entrepreneurship programs, including the Boots to Business program, where he travels the world and hosts our 8-week online portion. As an entrepreneur, Turallo owned and operated 3 companies in the fields of photographic retail and quick printing. In addition, he has also purchased, rehabilitated, and sold numerous businesses. He currently owns 2 companies that focus on the commercial real estate development and management. In addition, he is a partner in the Cayuga Venture Fund II, LLP, and has held offices as treasurer and managing partner of Cayuga Venture Fund I, LLP. So now I'll turn things over to Neil.
Thank you, Mike, for that nice long introduction. I'll have to send you a shorter one. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you all. Mike and James, can you just, before we get started here, clue me in, how do I see questions that people might ask, or is Jim just going to, or Mark, are you just going to moderate that in?
So what I'll do is I will read them also. If you just click the chat function at the top left of your screen, which will open up the chat box to the right.
Okay, I got it. Great.
And then we'll relay questions that way as well.
Thank you. Everybody who's tuning in with us, please don't hesitate to ask questions. That's what makes these VetNets more valuable to everybody watching, and also folks who will watch it at a future date because we're recording it. So, first slide, Jim, we're going to be talking about obviously the executive summary. And I think if you look at the slide on the screen, the real important things about the executive summary and what really is an executive summary, what purpose does it serve, what we should include in it, and what are some of the good things to do and some of the not so good things to do. And I'll give a little context for this as we go along and try to draw correlations with the business plan so that if you're writing the business plan, you can also think about the executive summary a little bit. Next slide. So in very simple terms, the executive summary gives you, or provides the reader, I should say, with a snapshot of the business plan, but it's not, next slide, an actual business plan. And I think that's something to keep in mind because a lot of folks try to force too much information into just a few pages. All we're really trying to do here is give people a snapshot, just a little inkling of what goes on. One of my tricks in thinking about and preparing to write the executive summary is that when I write, instead of writing the way we've all been taught since we were children, which is to create a premise and then build an argument and then have a summary at the bottom of your paper, my tip is to take that summary and make it the very first paragraph in that section of your business plan. for instance, if we were thinking about the marketing plan, the very first paragraph of that would be the summary that I have for my marketing plan. That way, all I have to do to build my executive summary is take those first paragraphs out and layer them into the executive summary and tweak them a little bit. We're going to talk about how to do that to make it make the most sense. So think about writing your business plan that way. This also gives you the benefit of being very direct and to the point for the folks who are reading your business plan. Remember, this is a business document. It's not an exercise in creative writing. It's not a science fiction novel. So we don't need to have all kinds of flowery statements and adjectives. Be very direct. So the slide on your screen there kind of gives us, in my mind, the two main reasons that we write executive summaries. The first, and this is really mostly what it's about, is to compel folks to read the rest of your business plan. So that when you hand it to them, they're interested in moving through it and reading the rest of what you have there. The other secondary is to communicate, and for me, the market-driven opportunity is one of the primary motivators of our business plan, to communicate what the market-driven opportunity is, to talk a little bit about the product or service that you're offering, maybe discuss partnerships, vendors, employees, anything like that. So the second function, kind of the secondary role that the executive summary plays, is that it is a vehicle by which we can hand something to people and communicate to them what our business plan is about, what we're trying to do. There are times when you may have different versions of your executive summary for that reason, and that's totally fine, especially if you're holding back some proprietary information or something like that. Number one, though, to compel the reader to read the rest of the business plan is the primary reason why we're writing the executive summary. And just think about it. That's why it's the first thing that folks read as you're reading when you open up your business plan. Now, for me, as somebody who sat on both sides of the table, both as an investor and as somebody seeking investment, when I read business plans as an investor, thinking about investing in a company, the first thing I did was open up the executive summary and I read it. And if it wasn't compelling, I did not read any further. So I'm not going to look for reasons for your business to be fundable or for you to want to read the rest of your business. This is what the executive summary is for, and that's what I'm looking for as an investor. Next slide. I'm sorry. So the physical aspects of it, just a couple of things to think about. Use subheadings. I just read 3 executive summaries this morning, and none of them had subheadings in them. So it was difficult for me to get my head around the subject matter that we were addressing at that specific point in the executive summary. I think subheadings are very important. I'll give you some references for subheadings as we talk through this a little bit more. Never, ever should your executive summary be more than 3 pages. I also have a personal belief that if I'm not using all 3 pages, then I'm kind of missing an opportunity. So I think you want to make sure that you are doing that. And it's really important not to use, not to go beyond 3 pages. For me as a reader of business plans, if your executive summary is more than 3 pages, I A, may not read it, or B, will stop reading after the second or third page. And then you don't need to use citations for your work here because those will be included in the business plan itself. So you don't need to clutter up your executive summary with citations. Next slide, please. So what should you include? So for me, one of the trademarks I think of my executive summaries and what I teach my students in writing executive summaries is to tell a short, compelling story about how you came up with your idea. This could take the place of the overview of your business or your business concept, but I think if you do that, it engages the reader very directly, and also if it's well written, it helps people understand exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish when you're writing your business plan. Make sure that you include the problem statement. And we'll talk about that a little bit coming up here. Also, make sure we identify the market-driven opportunity and what your competitive advantage. What I'm really going to do is give you 9 items that you want to make sure that are included in there. And then we'll talk about each one of them individually. Next slide. Also included the economics of your business. Talk about how you're going to acquire customers or what your marketing plan is that means. And then the management team and board of advisors. tell me a financial overview, and then what are your requirements financially? What do you need to start this business from a financial perspective? Thank you. The overview is be very direct with it. Don't use a lot of buzzwords or jargon or labels. Be very direct, be very concise, be very specific. Same as with your business plan, you want to be very specific in writing the business plan, the executive summary. Remember, it is not a literary masterpiece. You do not have to have a lot of adjectives in here and spend a lot of time describing things. So make sure that you don't do some of those do not do things, and you'll make sure that people are going to start continuing to reading the rest of it. Next slide. So the problem statement is clearly, and also by the way, if you think about my headings here, the things that are important, you'll see a connection to the nuts and bolts of effective business plans that we use for all of our entrepreneurship business plan courses through the Institute for Veteran Military Families. So there's a clear connection for you. That way you can be using that as a guide. So the problem statement should very clearly state what problem your business is solving, how you're going to solve it, and how you'll make money. No more than 5 sentences for all 3 of these combined. Be direct. Again, you can hear me say that a lot. Be direct. Don't bury this information in paragraphs of writing. So this is something that I'm alert for when I'm reading business plans to evaluating for investment. Does this entrepreneur understand the whole problem statement and the important role that that plays as we articulate what our business is and what it's going to do? If this is missing, I'm not reading any further in your executive summary or your business plan. But you want to be very clear about it. I encourage people to create a paragraph all by itself that includes these 5 sentences and be very direct, like answering the question or finishing the sentence. The problem the business will be solving is, the business will solve the problem when it, and then just finish those sentences. Be very direct. It's a very positive way to do that. Now, how you're going to solve the problem is also your business model. So what's your model look like, and you can incorporate that in there. Remember, 5 sentences, no more. That's really important. Next slide. So I want to know what your market-driven opportunity is. And at the end of the day, this is what is incredibly, incredibly important, both from your business plan's perspective and the executive summary. So how do you know there are people out there who are going to be engaging in your service or buying your product? I think that this is more important than the idea itself. As a matter of fact, when folks come to me and they say, hey, Professor Tarallo, tell me what you think about my idea, my response is always the same. It's always, it really doesn't matter what I think about your idea. Frankly, it doesn't matter what you think about your idea. The only group of people that matters is potential customers. And we have to demonstrate that there are enough of them out there to make this a viable business opportunity. So as part of this, I want to know how big your market is. I want to know very specifically who your customers are. Don't tell me that your customers are individuals from 18 to 70 years old. I want to know very specifically who they are in the demographic terms. What age are they? What income, maybe gender, maybe race, maybe ethnicity, if that all applies to your concept. And then what's your value proposition? What is it that's going to be attractive to them about what you're offering? And how do you know that it is indeed of value to potential customers? And then finally, how you know they're going to buy it. So a lot of this is supported by market research that you should have done, and I'm sure you have done, as you've written business. Next slide, please. So competitive advantage. For me, if you've taken some of our courses, some of the Institute for Veteran Military Family courses, either the 8-week course or some of the B2B programs or EDV programs or UIS programs that we offer, you always run into this gentleman who did research in competitive strategy named Michael Porter. Porter really kind of set the stage and is the definitive expert in how to think about competitive advantage and competition. So it's important to remember that all businesses have competitors. As I teach in our IVMF programs, I very frequently get folks who insist to me that I don't have a competitor. My idea is so unique that there's nobody else out there like that. But you need to be thinking about competitors as who else could potentially take the money out of my customer's pocket and put it in their own? So anybody that can do that, any company that can do that, any organization that can do that is indeed a competitor. And you want to make sure you understand who they are and what they're all about. So you want to identify current competitors and future competitors. Some of them may be indirect competitors, some of them may be direct competitors, but we all have competitors. Differentiate your value proposition from them. So the things that you know that will get your customers excited that you're offering, how is it different from what your competitors offer? And then finally, what is your competitive strategy? If you recall your work with our classes, Porter says that there are 3 competitive strategies to think about. One of them is differentiation, the other is segmentation, and the third is low-cost leadership. For my money, no one should be thinking about low-cost leadership at the early stages of their business. We should always be choosing either differentiation or segmentation. This is an important concept to communicate in your executive summary because it lets the reader understand that you know what the playing field looks like and you're prepared to deal with those folks that are out there who are going to be trying to take customers from you and that you're going to be competing for customers as well. Next slide. So the economics of the business is an area that I think a lot of folks misunderstand. And it's a little bit of a challenge in an executive summary to really do a good job with this topic. But at the end of the day, that third bullet on the slide here is what this is all about. It's about you demonstrating your knowledge of the financial controls of the business and how you can use those controls to mitigate risk, to help your venture be a little less risky, and to have it operate at peak efficiency. So briefly discuss that economic model that we learned about in our IVMF classes. And don't state the obvious things. I always read about this, that my company is going to operate at low operating leverage. Well, that's great. And I can tell that when I look at your financial statements in about 5 seconds. Tell me what that means to you and how you use that information to better run your business. So the third bullet is what's really key. Next slide. How are you going to acquire your customers? And I very deliberately titled this customer acquisition and not marketing. Because what we're interested in here is how you're going to get those folks to actually come in and engage with your company, engage your service, and purchase your product. So don't tell me that they're going to come just because we built something. Every organization that I've ever been a part of or consulted for who says if we build it, they will come, soon find themselves out of business. And that phrase, for those of you who are movie fanatics, came from Field of Dreams, and it's a movie. It's Hollywood. It's not real life. So you can't just build something and expect them to come. Tell me in your executive summary what your marketing strategy is going to be in general terms. But don't tell me social media is your marketing strategy. Social media is not a marketing strategy. Social media can be a component of marketing and a strategy that you execute, but it is not the definitive marketing strategy. Do look at some of our VetNet webcasts to talk a little bit more about social media and about marketing to understand that aspect. But one of the things that I think is really fundamental here that folks tend to miss is that this whole customer acquisition component is really going to provide the foundation for how we're going to grow our company, how we're going to build our sales, and how we're going to get those sales going. I'm looking for actionable things here when I read this up. And when I say build sales from the bottom up, what I'm saying is justify how you're going to get from 0 to $1 million, $1 million in your first year, if that's what you're assuming you're going to do. What's going to happen as that goes along? You have to bring new salespeople on if you're a sales-driven company. What has to happen with your infrastructure that will support those kinds of revenue numbers? If you don't have that, then to me you're communicating that you're really not prepared yet to acquire customers. So build sales from the bottom up, not from the top down. Don't say because we have a capacity, therefore we're going to get, let me see, 75% sounds like a good number, or 50% is very conservative. I want to see how you're actually going to justify those sales by looking at customer acquisition. Next slide. So management team, to me, is a very, very important component of both the business plan and the executive summary. You know, if you've taken our business plan classes, that we are all comfortable with the fact that, at best, business plans are no more than a really good guess, right? we're estimating things, we're doing research, and we're getting to understand things as much as we possibly can. We're backing our assumptions with credible research, what we've done, so that we have credibility in our guesses. But at the end of the day, what we do is a guess, except for one thing, and that's us as the entrepreneurs involved in the business. We are the one thing that the investors can look at and say, I understand this person. So that's something that we want to make sure we address well. I suggest that you write this section, both in your business plan and in your investment summary, as in the first person, as if you're writing about your experiences. I think that's the best way to demonstrate your passion, and honestly, it's something that I've been recently doing with my students, and I think it works really well. Highlight any relevant experience that you or your management team has. Short bios are appropriate, but please don't include resumes. I don't need to see resumes. Unless we have something that's very specific that we're talking about that folks on our management team bring to the table. And again, I'm thinking about the management team here. I don't need to know everybody that's in my organization. Discuss who your board of advisors are and what role they will play. What value do they bring to the table for you having them there? How are you going to use them? So this, for me, is about passion. It's about clearly being able to get that passion out there and have people understand it and feel it when they read the section. And the second is, how am I going to get my management team and my board of advisors together to help me move this company forward and engage our customers and create stuff. Next slide. So financial highlights. Don't get too complicated with this. I would pick 4 or 5 key financial highlights from your projections that you're excited about, and talk about them. Talk about when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. Again, build these from the bottom up. Don't just say, I think we're going to get X amount of market share because my competitors are currently operating in that market share space. Capacity does not mean revenues. We want to build this from the bottom up. How are you creating the first year revenue? If you're finding our suggestions in our business plan class, you're doing that by tying your revenues to your market share that you've done research on, and you're creating market share through benchmarking competitors in their first year. That's what's important in your first year. So again, build your financials from the bottom up and talk about that within the executive summary paragraph. Finally, they ask or talking about how much money we actually want to need. Be very specific about this and don't be bashful about it. Be direct. The company needs X amount of dollars, and state very specifically how you're going to use that money. That's an important component of this. And then also how and when the investor is going to get their money back. In other words, what's your exit strategy? When is it going to happen, and what's your preferred methodology? Is it going to be an acquisition, an IPO? How am I, as an investor, going to get my money back? I'm not a fan of return on investment discussions here, because I think it's very hard for us to accurately predict that, and I get concerned that if we're claiming that we're going to have a 5 times return on investment, and then we don't do that, we put ourselves in a difficult position that may give us a little bit of liability legally with our investors. So I'm not a fan of talking about percentages or multiples for returns on investment here. Let them figure that out themselves based on what our projections look like, what your projections look like in the financial statements, and how much money we're intending to invest in. I deliberately said it. This should be a short paragraph, not a whole lot going on. And again, if you're very direct and very specific with it, it allows you to write brief stuff. Next slide. So a couple of tips and tricks. If I have room, I like to include milestones. So this is going to happen at this stage of the game, or at this point in time in our company, and I try to quantify those whenever I can. I love quotes, and again, if I have room in the margins or at the bottom of my page, I will put quotes that support the paragraph that the quote is associated with, using market research, primary market research that I've done. If you've done long interviews, if you've done interviews and you talk to potential customers or competitors or vendors, this is a great way to establish credibility. And I like using the executive summary as a component of that. Always, and you've heard me say this many times in just the last half hour here, Communicate in a very simple fashion. Don't try to be very, uh, don't use big words. Keep it very simple as you move through that. Be direct in your communication and be very specific about what you're saying and what you're trying to allude to. If you can back up any presumptions that you make with actual data that you found through your market research, I think that helps a lot. That's all. So what you should not do, you heard me say this before, don't include buzzwords, labels, or fluff. Keep it specific, keep it to the point. I'm not a fan of unconfirmed discussions. Like we have met with this company and they're interested in purchasing our product. Anybody can have those kinds of conversations. What I'm really interested here in is if you have actual signed contracts, that's going to be a motivator. If you have actual sales numbers, that's going to be a motivator. So I'm just looking for that all the time. A lot of times, folks just kind of spout off statistics because they feel like we need to quantify things or get some numerical value in this executive summary in some way. But if you're not analyzing those or explaining those in some fashion, they really don't have a whole lot of value. So talk about those a little bit. I do not like to include graphics and pictures because A, this is not a marketing piece, and B, it takes away from the space that I have. Remember, I have a 3-page limit here that I can use to write about my company. So I'm never going to include graphics or pictures in my executive summary. I want to use the space that I have to write, to talk about what my company is. I also shy away from anything proprietary here. I think we spend an enormous amount of time, incorrectly so, talking about why we don't want to share our ideas because somebody else might steal it. And the fact is we can be smart about how we talk about our company and don't talk about the specifics of proprietary areas in our business. But I do talk about the fact that I have proprietary opportunities here because they're strong and give me a strong competitive advantage. I write my executive summary in a way that lets people understand what I'm doing, but doesn't give them all the details so that they can run out and start it themselves. And I'm almost never concerned about major companies stealing my idea. They are really not interested in stealing my idea. What they're more interested in is seeing if I do well or not, and then buying my business and building it later. It's much more efficient to do that. I'm not concerned about it. Don't ask for an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. If you ask me for one of those as a potential investor, I'm just not going to speak to you. The fact is that NDAs are becoming less and less valuable to any of the parties. But as an investor, I absolutely always refuse to sign this. And the reason is very simple. We've become very litigious in the United States these days. And if there's a breach in security or in information, proprietary information, the first thing that the opposing lawyers are going to do is subpoena everybody who has signed an NDA. And we all have to go in and give a deposition, and they're going to try to figure out who in fact breached the confidentiality. I'm just not interested in putting myself in that position. Most investors that I know of are also not interested in putting themselves in that position. I don't need to spend money on an attorney. I don't need to spend my time with attorneys trying to defend my position. If you are not comfortable with me, then please don't talk to me and don't send me I am, and I think the person and most people are out there to do that. So when I'm thinking about investing, NDAs are never ever on the table. I think that's the last slide, is it? Yeah. Any questions for anybody?
We'll take a look out on the YouTube stream and the event page, and I'll let Jim let us know in a second here to see if we have any questions out there.
Okay, good. While we're doing that, just keep in mind that these sections that we've talked about, what to include here, should tie directly with the different sections within your business plan. And again, if you're using nuts and bolts as your guide for writing the business plan, this kind of fits in there very, very well. Most of my executive summaries are written using that as a guide. And I think nuts and bolts does an excellent job of walking you through that process. Keep it short, keep it direct, keep it to the point, and then keep this point.
Okay, well, at this point, it doesn't look like we have any questions out there. Mirzo, do you want to wrap up, or what are your thoughts? Okay, looks like we're going to wrap it up. So, Neil, thank you for coming on and discussing a piece of information that's very relevant in any entrepreneur's life. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you joining us for our monthly webinar series that we offer through the IVMF, and we look forward to discussing next month in December. So with that being said, have a good afternoon, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.